to another retail horror stories. Look at all my stuff is gone. So I am in the middle of packing up this room and I will be painting it this weekend. So this may be the last video that you see with this background. Other than that, it's going to get back to boring. I'm also sick, so I'm going to be clearing my throat and sniffling, but I hope that doesn't bother anybody. So today's story is going to be another Joanne's story, and this is here in Maryland. I live on Andrews Air Force Base, for those of you who didn't know, and it's about 15 minutes outside of DC, but it is in the Maryland state, the state of Maryland. So anyways, I worked at this specific Joanne's for a couple of years. And so if you missed the very first Joanne story, I will link that down below and you can get some character reference to who I'm talking about. This story involves the same girl whose name starts with the letter S, and so that's what we're going to call her, is S. Okay, so you guys remember Jay, who was like my best work friend. You know how you have those friends at work that you're just like really close with, and her and I did hang out quite a bit outside of work as well, and her and I were equals. Like we had the same exact job. Like we both did money in the morning, we both did planograms, we both did price changes, we did the same exact thing. Her and I like were equals. And we were a team. Like it was just me and her who did the set of things. So anyways, so this particular morning took place after that whole fist fighting managers thing. This is the girl, S, is the girl who was like ready to throw down with another dude who was our manager. Again, that story will be linked down below. So this particular morning, Jay and I are in the front of the store, which is seasonal. And I want to say we were doing Halloween, and her and I were like in the best mood because she was like me. She loved Halloween, loved fall. You know what I mean? She was just like all about it. So on this particular morning, we're out there, you know what I mean, doing seasonal. And I'm pretty sure we were doing Halloween. And so it's early in the morning, and at this Joanne's, morning was like our slow time, you know what I mean? Like we had maybe a few people that were like waiting at the doors when we opened at 9, you know what I mean? And so, you know, other than that, it's very, very, very quiet in the store, and we can get the most work done, you know what I mean? We get there at 6 a.m. and either count the drawers or start on our new planograms, and seasonal is quite a task a lot of the times, you know, because it involved backer paper, it involved just a ton of stuff. I don't know, this has nothing to do with the story. I don't know why I'm going on about this, but anyways, so her and I are in the first few aisles, and we hear this lady, you know, saying, "Excuse me, hello." And so Jay, you know, gets on, we all have headsets, radios, gets on the headset, and S is our cashier for that morning, and she's like, S, you know, you have a customer waiting for you at the front desk, because sometimes when you're a cashier, you had to like stock like the dollar area, or like they'll have you put away fabric, you know what I mean? Because like I said, it's really slow in the morning. So, you know, we don't hear anything back, and we're like, what the heck, you know? And so Jay and I like would always kind of almost like rock, paper, scissors to see who would have to go up for like backup or whatever. Like her and I absolutely hated the registers. And so Jay's like, all right, you know, I'll go up there. And I was like, meh, you know, see ya. And so she gets on the radio and she calls for our manager, whose name starts with D. And that was the one who refused to come up to the store, even though she lived a couple minutes away when the whole fist fight situation was happening. So she's like, hey D, you may want to come up here. You're not going to believe this. And she gets off the radio, and like, cause I'm right there, she's like, Brittany, come here. And I was like, oh snap. So I go over there to the registers, and on the counter of the register is a note saying, F you, F this store, and I can't remember exactly like what the note said, but I remember it specifically saying F you and F this store, on a piece of receipt paper, mind you, written in like red pen, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was like red pen. And sitting there was her walkie-talkie and her, we had like scan we called them handhelds, and you could scan stuff, see where it went, how much it was, yada yada. So both of her equipments are there. So she literally pieced out. She like took off in the middle of, like, not even the middle, the beginning of her shift, to just like walked out the door. And also sitting there was a Reese's. Like, we sold, the front lane had candy for people to buy, and so there was a Reese bar sitting there, and we were like, what just happened? And so Dee comes up there, and she was like, oh my gosh, and so we're all like freaking out, like, oh my god, this really just happened. So we had to find somebody to come in and cover her shift, and pretty much like she was fired, you know what I mean? She walked out. So that next morning, I'm doing drawers, counting the money. So remember when I said there was a Reese's sitting there? She took that Reese's to, I want to say, 2 different registers and scanned it, hit cash, opened up both the tills, and took like some 5s and some 10, like a 10 and some 5s out of one, and a 5 and some 1s out of another. Because in the mornings, like, we don't have a ton of cash in there. Like, you start with like a minimum amount, and it's usually change, 5s and 1s, you know what I mean? Some you would have like a 10 in there, just depending on how it fell, you know what I mean, with what you had to have in there. So she stole money from the store by like ringing up a fake sale with a Reese bar. Left her equipment there and just like walked out of the store. And so we found that out, the next morning. And so I called, I think it was the same manager, Dee. I was like, so remember that Reese bar that was sitting there? She stole money. We're short this amount of money in this drawer and short this amount of money in this drawer. And she was like, oh my god. So now let's continue with the nonsense. This girl had it out for another manager whose name starts with the letter N, okay? We'll just call her Nancy, even though that's not her real name. So Nancy is one of our other assistant managers who, she was a little bit, she stuck by the rules. She was super cool as long as you did what you were supposed to do. I'll just say that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really have a lot of bad words to say about her, honestly. Like, if you do what you're supposed to, she was cool, you know what I mean? Now, S was late all the time. S, you know what I mean, didn't want to do certain things. Like, she thought she could say, I'm not going to put away fabric, but I'll do this. And, Nancy was like, no, I'm the manager and I'm going to tell you what to do. And so remember in the first story, S got written up for being late, and that's why she was so mad about, that other manager being late. Idiot, and so Nancy is the one who had to give her the write-up. It wasn't necessarily that Nancy was writing her up, it just that happened to fall on the day, you know what I mean, that Nancy was the manager and S was there, and that's when she had to deliver the follow-up, or the write-up. So in S's mind, Nancy had it out for her, right? So this is where things get crazy. I can't even remember like how it happened, but all of a sudden Nancy's car is having issues, okay? It's like not starting, or lights are going off and this and that. And so she goes to her dealership, and S poured sugar into her gas line. That's how much she had it out for Nancy, because she thought Nancy had it out for her. This is the type of girl that I'm talking about, okay? So where the employees park is on the cusp of Target and Joann's. Now, Joann's didn't have the footage of actual S. Like, they just saw a vehicle pull up to Nancy's car and sat up there for a little while and then like drove off. So ironically, like I said, Target is right next door. Like, a couple days go by and we have a detective come in with a Target LP manager, which is their loss prevention. And over the weekend, somebody broke into Target, like smashed the front windows, went in, ransacked the place, like whatever they could carry, they took, you know what I mean? And so they wanted our footage to see if they like went between the alley between Joann's and Target. And so, we pulled up our footage for them. And so Nancy was like, hey, since I'm doing this for you, could you help me out? I had a disgruntled employee pour sugar into my gas tank. Her car like was beyond repair. She had to get a new car, right? So they pull it up, sure enough, it's S. So Nancy sues S. Okay, and she has like witnesses. S started writing text messages to another employee that we had there, telling her that, you know, she did it. So this employee told Nancy, like, look, I have the proof right here, you know. And then they brought that up. So then S started threatening this girl. And the girl was like, dude, you don't scare me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to mention her because I still talk to her and she like doesn't want to, you know what I mean, get involved in all that. But so so Nancy's suing S, you know, for vandalism and destruction of property and all this. S comes to court with a lawyer and tries to sue Joann's for discrimination. No. No. You stole from the company, you walked out on your shift, you vandalized a, you know, manager's property, her car, like vehicular damage, whatever, you know, I don't know the technical terms for it. It sounded nice. So all of this, and so it ended up washing out. Like nothing happened to S. Like she didn't get charges or anything brought against her. Joann's didn't have to do anything to settle with S. Like it was a huge mess, and it went on for quite some time, even after S had left, and then Nancy even ended up leaving. You know what I mean? So it was a huge mess. Huge mess. I could not believe all of this. Like I've never seen anything like that happen. And it goes to speak for the area that I live in. It's just a ghetto, you know what I mean? Like it's just not a good area. It really isn't. Like where you get people behaving like that. Like it could really happen anywhere, but you know what I mean? Like I've never come across stuff like this before in my like 10 years of retail experience. Like I've never ever seen like fist fighting at work or stealing like that, like that, you know what I mean? Not stealing, because I do have another story about stealing that I'll maybe tell you guys next week, but this was insane. Insane. I do have a couple more stories involving Joann's, one from Target that I worked at when I was like 18. I've got some good ones. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's retail horror stories. If you did, please give it a thumbs up so I know you'd like me to continue doing it. If you are new, which I have quite a few of you, hello. My name is Brittany Cocco. Legit, my name is Brittany Cocco, and you are watching the Cocco channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
But that was a really cheesy laugh. I don't know what that was. I don't know why I'm so animated with my hands.